Yes, this is for the regulated Virgo. Not the one spiraling, all right? Not the one obsessing, not the one waiting for validation. This is for the Virgo who has done the work, all right? This is for the Virgo who has done the work, all right? Who feels the pull but is no longer destabilized by it, right? This is for the Virgo who is focused on their happiness, all right? Virgo, this message is not for the anxious version of you, Virgo. It's not. This is for the composed Virgo, right? The one who can feel everything and still choose themselves. You're not heartbroken. You're discerning, right? You're discerning. And there's a, Virgo, there's a difference. There's a difference. There is. What happened between you and this person did not shatter you. It clarified you. You saw where the emotional gaps were. You saw where they avoided responsibility. You saw where they projected their insecurity, Virgo. You did. You did. And instead of chasing correction, you stepped back. Right? You stepped back. That's regulation. Right? That's regulation. You took the first step. Right? You didn't detach out of anger. You detached out of alignment. And that shift is powerful. Because when a regulated Virgo pulls back, it's not punishment. It's recalibration, right? It's recalibration, right? It's recalibration. Let's talk about your person. They're feeling the difference, right? They're feeling the difference. Not chaos, not a dramatic loss, but the absence of access, the moon. They feel in the dark out of your life, right? They feel like they don't know what's going on in your life. And access is because access is what they took for granted. Right? They were used to your insight, used to your stability. They were used to your literacy, right? They were used to you carrying the relationship. They were used to you carrying the relational maturity, right? But now there's space, right? There's no more confusion, right? And in that space, they're noticing something, right? And it's uncomfortable. You're not reacting. You're not defending. You're not over-explaining. You're not micromanaging, right? Because you have balance now. You're calm. And calm is intimidating to someone who relied on emotional noise to feel connected. Right, Virgo? This person felt powerful when you were trying to fix things. That's a fact. They felt powerful when you were trying to fix things, right? They felt relevant when you were seeking clarity. They felt safe when you were emotionally available no matter what. But now, they feel uncertain because divine timing's at play, right? You're no longer participating in imbalance. You're no longer accepting a cup that's not full, right? And here's the truth. They respected you intellectually before. Now they're starting to respect you emotionally, and that shift matters. So this is not about whether they miss you, right? Of course they miss you. Of course they miss you. Right? This is about whether they feel your boundaries, right? This is about whether they feel your boundaries, right? That's what it's about. You didn't block them in rage. You didn't threaten departure. You didn't create a dramatic exit. You simply stopped overfunctioning. That's what changed the dynamic, Virgo. Now let's sit and talk about you. You're no longer trying to win love. You're not. You're observing compatibility. You're no longer trying to prove your value. Why? Because you're assessing capacity, right? You're no longer afraid of losing them, right? You're no longer afraid of putting your heart on the line because you're evaluating whether they can meet you. And that is emotional adulthood, right? Emotional adulthood, right? That's why your nervous system feels different lately. It's less frantic, less hypervigilant, less consumed. You still care, but you're not consumed. And when a Virgo reaches that state, the entire structure shifts, right? Your person is stuck in the devil energy, right? They're in contemplation. They're reflecting on conversations where you were patient, right? They are. They're reflecting on a lot. They're remembering the moments where you chose maturity. They're recognizing how rare that actually is now, Virgo. And they're comparing. Whether they admit it or not, they're comparing. They're measuring the emotional standard you set against anyone else in their orbit. Virgo, that gap is noticeable. It is. Right? Now what happens next? This is not about waiting, right? It's about maintaining composure, right? There's a strong possibility of communication, right? And you'll listen, right? But it will not come in chaos. It'll come in subtle testing, right? Light contact, measured tone, right? Curiosity masked as casual conversation, because they're gauging access, right? They want to see if the door is still unlocked. Here's your instruction. Respond and listen. If you choose to respond from neutrality, not warmth seeking validation, not coldness seeking punishment. Neutrality communicates strength. So do not over-offer reassurance. Do not reopen emotional labor. Don't assume the role of the stabilizer. Let them demonstrate regulation. Because this is the best decision you've ever made, Virgo, is to walk away. Because this time, you're not interviewing for love. You're not. They're interviewing for love. They're interviewing for a seat at your table, Virgo. This connection wasn't a mistake. It was a mirror. It showed you where you were overgiving. It showed you where you tolerated emotional consistency. It showed you how capable you were of loving, right? It showed you how capable you are of loving with maturity, right? And now you're only available for what? Reciprocity, right? So this is not detachment from love, right? It's not. It's not detachment from love. It's elevation of standards. And whether this person rises to meet you or fades into lessened territory, you will not be destabilized. That's the difference between regulated and reactive. The regulated Virgo doesn't chase. The regulated Virgo does not threaten, right? The regulated Virgo does not beg for emotional accountability. They observe, they adjust, they upgrade. And right now, your energy is magnetic, Virgo, right? Because it's not grasping, right? If this person returns with consistency, you'll consider it. If they return with ego, you'll disengage, right? You win either way, because your peace is no longer negotiable. Your wealth, your peace, you know where you're going, Virgo. So this is not the era of proving. Let them prove. This is the era of receiving. You're going to be discerning, observe. Is that something I want to receive? Sure, bring it over. If not, no thank you. And only someone emotionally steady will be allowed to stand next to you now. And that's the shift, Virgo. That's the power. And that is why the dynamic already feels different. All right? Contact me for one-on-ones, guys. I have 2 slots left for the week. Thank you.